Croeso bawb, croeso I podlediad Urdd Derwyddon Ynys Môn. Welcome everybody to the second episode of the Anglesey Druid Order podcast. I am your host, Kristoffer Hughes. For more information about the order, go to angleseydruidorder.co.uk for information about our workshops, rituals, courses and community. So this month I am here in Glastonbury, so we're a fair few hours away from Anglesey with my dear friend,
Oh, nice to see you.
Tarvis Hunter Clark.
Well, hello. How are you? How's everyone doing?
That's a mouthful of a name.
Isn't it?
I love it.
Do you like it?
I do love
Oh.
it. I do love it. And we've known each other a long time.
Yeah, many years
It's been
now.
a few years now.
I think so.
Yeah. And we usually come to Glastonbury twice a year for Druid shenanigans. And,
among other things.
Amongst other things. So you've been coming over here for how many years?
Just after the pandemic, I think. Just after 22, I think was my first year.
Yeah. Did you find that when the pandemic hit and we were all isolated and having to do things online, was that a motivator for you to, do you know what, I need to actually get out there and start being with people, traveling a bit more? Or were you doing that before the pandemic?
No, I don't. I actually had scheduled it in 2020, and then the pandemic hit, and then it was canceled. So then once we were allowed to travel again, my ticket was, still good.
Yeah.
Because I'm from Reno, Nevada, which is many, many hours away from here. Many miles and many hours, lots of travel, several plane switches. And so when we were able to travel again, it was definitely a breath of fresh air to get out and not be stuck behind a camera or a screen and watching it.
Yeah.
It's just not the same. I mean, it's helpful. I think it's a really good thing that we had it. And we've learned a lot that we can do with tech. But I think even you were mentioning at one of the magic rituals that there's things that happen that don't translate to camera.
They don't, do they? Although it has been beneficial, I think we've all learnt a lot from it. There are occasions where I think some things don't translate that well, that have to be experienced in person.
Right.
So you're a member of the
Yes.
Anglesey Druid Order and also the Order of Bards, Ovids and Druids, of which I'm a Druid graduate of as well.
Yes.
So does it feel when you come over to the United Kingdom, does that feel like a pilgrimage? Does it feel like you're just being immersed in community? Or is it like an amalgamation of both those things and maybe something else?
I think it's definitely an amalgamation of both, but mostly a pilgrimage each year. I think when I first began coming over, I had just lost my father. And there was a lot of finding myself and finding what I needed to do to feel spirit and to feel connected again after so much loss. And so there was a definite pilgrimage and a reconnecting with myself and who I am as a person and as a spiritualist and a druid. So then I came the next year and met our dear friend Chuck, and then came again and met our dear friend Jamie, and things just kind of snowball. And then as the years go by, you want to come back year after year after year after year, and gathering after gathering. It doesn't matter really what gathering at that point. The ADO conference we'd just come from to, and that was just absolutely stunning. And it's so fulfilling, I think. And you can go, pilgrimage can happen anywhere, I think. Anywhere that fills you, right? And for me, I've been in love with these islands for many, many years, since I was a little kid. And so to actually kind of fulfill that dream really brought me home.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. So I do feel a bit of a split soul, because I love my landscape. I love where I live. I live in the Sierra Nevada mountains and at the base of Lake Tahoe, which is the jewel of the Sierra. It's a crystalline alpine lake, probably I think the deepest in North America, because it's a fissure that opened up and then it's snow runoff that gets filtered out through the bushes and things and the wetlands of Lake Tahoe. So it's just stunningly clear and fabulously cold. So it has a spirit, has a definite, genus loci that you can't substitute. But then you come here too, and there's the second you step off a plane here, and I think many people who have come over have said this and felt this. The second we step onto these holy isles, you feel it. It feels different. The energy is, I don't know, palpable, I think is a really good way of saying it.
I guess it's ingrained as well, isn't it, into so much of our history, into our way of lives. And definitely for me as a Welsh person, so much part of my culture is Druidic in nature. But then I think the beautiful thing about Druidry, in particular Druidry, because so much of it is based in animism, that it doesn't matter where I am in the world.
Yes.
I can feel that sense of connection to place, to land, to sea, to sky. And I think that's what I love most about my Druidry, is that it is a response to the spirit of the land.
Yes.
And that I feel that wherever I go in the world. And that spirit has its unique flavor, its unique.
And I think you really kind of tune into it too when you've lost that, lost that connection. So I lived for a while in Las Vegas, and no shade to those in Vegas, but it's not the most spiritual space in the world. It's a lot of gambling and glitz and glam, and what you wear and who you talk to matters, So coming from Northern Nevada, it just felt like I was missing something. And so when I was able to return home, and I always said, I'm returning to Northern Nevada because there is a spirit of the land that calls me home. And so, I find that I love where I live. It's absolutely stunning. It's absolutely magical. It's like Snowdon on like crack cocaine. The mountains are massive and huge, and they're purple in the evening time. And the lake is absolutely stunning, and we have many other lakes and beautiful wild spaces, dangerous wild spaces too, because we have a lot of wild animals that we don't have here. But yes, you can feel a spirit of your place. And then when I connected with Druidry, I understood what it was that I was feeling and why I came back home and why I live there still.
So how do you connect with that spiritual principle in your daily practice, in your ordinary everyday life? What does that look like on a practical level? When so many people talk about spirits of place, gods and goddesses, the Fae, or whatever other name that we have for the numinous, I think sometimes, especially for people who are new to these things, there might be a pause or a moment in their own minds where they think, well, what is that? Particularly if they come from a monotheistic background, right? Where they've never had any exposure to that. They'll read a book on Druidry or contemporary paganism, and it's the talk of the spirit of place. And I've often thought that in the very beginning, when I was starting my own journey, centuries ago now, or so it feels, if there wasn't anybody to guide me into, okay, so how does that translate into my life? And how am I aware that I'm having an experience with the numinosity of place,
the sagacity of the place?
So what does that look like for you in your life?
So well, my area is very much an outdoor adventure place. So just getting outdoors, I know it sounds very simple, and some of us can't or aren't lucky enough to be able to get outdoors in the way that I am. But for example, I live on a wetland. So I live in a valley, and there's a wetland, and then there's mountains in the distance. And so I will find that I need to take frequent trips up to the hills and just sit with the trees, amongst the trees, or take a walk around my wetland. There's a very easy 1 mile path, right? And there's birds, and there's trees, and there's reeds, and the water, and all the waterfowl. So I think taking a moment to get into nature, but then also to stop and pause and listen to it. And not listening with your ears. You can hear it all, but that's not what I mean by listening. I mean by listening to your own internal reaction when you are in that space. And that teaches you, I think, what it feels like to reconnect with the turning of the tides and the seasons. And as I started my Druidry and I started paying attention to the changing tides each year, that's when I really connected with what the landscape looked like at a certain time of year, where the sun was at a certain time of year, where the moon passes through, with the constellations and whatnot. And as you become aware of that, and it's a slow process. I don't think it's immediate. I don't know if it was immediate for you. I mean, there's an immediate feeling, I think.
Yes, very much an immediate feeling.
But there's still always learning. There's always listening. And I think for me, in my own unverified personal gnosis, the message I got in the beginning was learn to listen. Sit and listen to the bird song. So if I couldn't make it outside, I can open my back door and I have birds and I listen to their chirp, and then I try to identify which bird that's coming from, and just listening to the landscape and then watching nature unfold before your eyes, and it teaches you. It teaches you what nature does. And I know, it's what I guess fairly, I don't know, simplistic, but we're druids. We like nature. We like trees. We hear their wisdom. We hear them.
And I think as well, when you take that time to stop, to listen, when you're starting to learn techniques to do that, whether it's ritual or ceremony or any other form of meditative or contemplative technique, I think there comes a point where we also fall into a realization that whilst we're observing nature, it becomes more an immersion in nature, where we perceive ourselves to also have a territorial and geographical component, where suddenly, we're a part of it.
Yeah,
we're not.
It's part of our constitution.
Yes,
part, and before really diving into my druidry, I live in the high desert. It very much looks like Afghanistan where I live. And I never thought it was pretty. It was very brown. When I fly back home, I go from these Emerald Isles to brown, very brown. But there is a stunning beauty in that nature as the seasons turn that I never appreciated before. So connecting with that time, taking the time to meditate, and sometimes I just go back out into my porch and just sit with a cup of coffee and just listen. And I can sit there for hours, and just kind of get almost drunk on the landscape.
Yes.
Is that?
Yeah, very much so, very much so. And I think that is how we learn to become the tree wise ones.
Yes.
The wise ones of the oak, is by seeing ourselves as a part of that magical narrative of nature, where we're not separate from it. Because of course, in our Western society, there's a tendency to believe that we can control it,
or we're above it and we're not part of it. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry not to cut you off, but I think there's been a massive disconnect with nature in just the last 2 to 3 generations. My grandparents were ranchers, so they paid attention to the turning cycles and the seasons. And as we move into the Yuletide season, they knew that they would have to do certain things on the ranch and whatnot. And that's been lost. And as we've lost it, we've lost a part of ourselves that is intrinsic and ingrained. And it's very easy to pick back up almost. Maybe not all the knowledge and things that our grandparents and great-grandparents had of that land. But as we walk around on rubber-soled shoes and on concrete, and we never stop for a moment to kind of take our shoes off and put our feet in the sand. Something.
My great-grandmother, we called her Nine Moo Moo. Nine is the Welsh for grandmother, Moo Moo, because she kept cows, right? And she used to have these folk practices. I mean, she would have been mortified, had we have had the audacity to call her a witch or a pagan. She was a folk farmer. But some of the wisdom of the connections that she had to the land, I wish we still held on to and practiced. And one of them, it sounds absolutely ridiculous, but it was quite true, that she would go out into the fields when they were freshly ploughed, and she would sit bare-bottomed of the soil. And if the soil was warm enough for her bottom, it was warm enough for parsnips.
No, is that? That's
so in would go the parsnip seeds. So these, and it used to make me giggle hearing these little folk practices, but actually they're deeply connected to the cycles of the seasons, And now we're here in Glastonbury. It's early December. Everywhere is festooned with Christmas trees and fairy lights and
mistletoe,
which I think is just off the camera, but there's an enormous bough of mistletoe covered in fairy lights just off to the stage left here. What does this time of year look like where you live?
So, well, things have changed, obviously, right? And that's unfortunate. But generally, it gets very cold, colder than here. We would be -2 to 5 degrees, definitely 0 most days. It gets cloudy and moody, and then it'll begin to snow. And we will get an accumulation of snow. Some years not as much, some years extreme amounts of snow, because it gets very idyllic of this time of year, so people will decorate their homes, and as Americans we go a little extra, so everyone's homes on the outside are just covered in lights and beauty that reminds you of I don't know, your childhood and the spirit of this time of year. But it gets a lot like over here that I've noticed this trip, not rain, of course, like I said, snow, but dark and moody, and you may not see the sun for several days. You'll know it's light out, but you won't have a definite sunrise or sunset. But we have a very true four seasons where I live. So when it moves into this dark half of the year, and especially right after Samhain and Nos Calangaev, and we are, in the States, we're beginning our Thanksgiving festivities and whatnot. The trees are turning and they're losing all their leaves, so they're very bare. We don't have green grass like you have here. It turns brown. Our grass turns brown. And we frost every morning. It's extremely frosty. So you can see your breath, everyone's bundled up. So it's very much like an old Dickens Christmas sometimes. So I'm very lucky in that regard. It's very nice.
I would never have thought that of that particular part of the United States at all, really. And I often think that I always find that the winters in the British Isles shame and disappoint me. Because I remember as a kid in the 70s, the winters were always cold. There was always frost on the inside of the window panes. We would invariably get snow, but that has become less and less and less as the climate has warmed. And now I consider that we don't necessarily have seasons, we just have weather.
Some more weather, some less weather.
And the weather is predominantly rain, But I still kind of love this particular time of year, because I always think that from Calangaeaf, from Samhain, all the way through to the winter solstices, I've always termed or called that part of the year the dead time.
Oh, yes.
Where everything is falling asleep. And sometimes I think that we forget that we're also falling asleep. We slow down.
Yes.
We become... our hair doesn't grow as quickly. Our fingernails doesn't grow as quickly. We're responding to the levels of the light and the power of the sun. And I feel this sense of anticipation and excitement for the coming of the new sun at winter solstice. But it's also something that's been conflated with the commercialization of Christmas, which I object to the fact that Christmas basically starts commercially in August.
Oh, for us it started like almost in July this year, I feel. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but we were taking down Halloween before Halloween even got going, and it was up with Christmas. So I think the commercialization's a bit out of control. But I find myself just internally, we start swinging into the spring, and just, I don't know really what happens to my social calendar, but my work calendar, but I have an event every weekend, several throughout the week, and we're just moving, and there's this barbecue and that barbecue, and then a holiday and a barbecue and whatnot. And we get to right after Nos Calangaeaf, and things slow down for me, and I get to hibernate. And I very much love that. I like the drawing in and the coming to find myself again, to just sit with myself quietly. And so I love those snowy nights when the world gets silent and all you see is the pink hue of the street lamps against the white snow, and you just get to sit quietly with the Christmas tree and the lights. And I hibernate. And I love it.
I do find sometimes that, I don't know whether I, to an extent, resent it, but life, even for a 21st century druid, is busy, right?
Extremely busy.
So much goes on. And at this time of year, I think do we really have to be doing all of this stuff?
Yeah.
Can we not just hibernate?
Yeah.
And settle. So I find that the way in which I moderate that is in January. I've traditionally always taken myself off in that time of darkness, even though the sun has been reborn, to have a personal retreat where I retreat as an individual to sit with myself, because I often feel that with Yuletide, Christmas, midwinter, that very often we're not given the opportunity to stop and observe and be a part of that cycle. And that's probably just a very 21st century problem that we all face.
I don't know though, because perhaps, we all change ourselves to some degree. And I don't think that's a bad thing at all. We wear different hats around the different people that we have to be. And I talk to my mother differently than I would speak with you, or other friends, because we just can't have those conversations sometimes with our parents, right? But so during these holiday seasons and during the hustle and bustle, we're putting ourselves out there, and we're changing our hats, and we're making sure that we almost sacrifice bits of us to meet the time and meet the people and meet the party and meet, the socialization. And then when we get that opportunity, especially right after the holiday, to just quiet down and look again at ourselves, that's when we get to reconnect with who we are and find our center again.
Yes, yes, very much so. I particularly like what would in the secular calendar be called the 12 days of Christmas. So from Christmas Day until the 6th of January. And I do enjoy that because nothing much happens in the secular calendar. I've never been very much a person to celebrate New Year's Eve on the 31st of December. So that process, that period of nearly 2 weeks from Christmas time, I relish, because I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to see anybody if I don't want to. And I think that's really important for not only my own mental health, but also for my spirituality as well, to have that quiet time. Because there is anticipation now. There's an anticipation for the season, anticipation for the festivities and the events and the company, and
getting ready for ritual and our ceremonies, the mistletoe ceremonies and whatnot, and planning that all out. And as we were just having dinner, and we were talking about all the things we have to do for ritual and all the work that goes into it, and that's actually very stressful.
It is,
And so to get a moment to kind of come back to your own trees. And just slide, and just slide back into yourself. If you don't do it, we lose a bit of ourselves. And even when you're in a relationship, and a married couple or dating or whatnot, or with parents with children, you're always giving part of yourself up to meet that other person. So even when in a relationship, I advocate, take some time for yourself. If you can, a week, 2 weeks, to just be like, I'm going to just focus on me, even if it's just an hour or 10 minutes a day that you get to spend thinking about yourself, especially during this time of the year. Reconnect with yourself. And that's what I love about this time. Not only do we get to have the beautiful lights, and it's dark, and you can't see them, they're off camera, but these beautiful fairy lights, and then we have a fire going, and it's always nice and warm, and we get to get cozy. Cuddle with those people that we care about, and our pets and things. It's magical.
It is. And it's interesting that you should say that, to come back to my trees, that ancient Welsh proverb, "Dod nôl at fy nghoed," which literally means to come back to my trees, but it's a metaphor, of course, for coming back to a more balanced state of mind, to a place of stillness, to a place of sanctuary within you. And because it comes from, that it's a Welsh proverb, because it's associated with trees, because we're obsessed with trees within the Welsh language. And at the heart of this particular festival is a tree.
There's a tree right inside our house.
They're everywhere, right?
Yeah.
They're in towns, they're in cities. Most houses have this tree, this symbol of a tree that... So regardless, I think, of how Christmas and Yuletide and midwinter and the solstice have all become conflated into this one huge, homogeneous, glittery, light-filled glob. They contain these elements that I find intoxicatingly magical. From the poinsettia behind your head to the magic of the mistletoe itself. I mean, can you get a plant that is more druidic? No,
absolutely not.
No, that's it. That's the epitome of Druidism right there.
And then it's only really at this time of the year that we can cut these and take them in, and the berries are ready, and they've taken their time.
They have, yes. And then, I don't know if you noticed, but when we were driving down to Somerset through the Welsh and English countryside, there comes a point, it's almost like an invisible barrier, where suddenly you can see all the boughs of mistletoe hanging from the aspens, the poplars, the apple trees. And I'm sure you commented on it when we were driving down, like, what are those?
Yeah.
And like, mistletoe.
Chunks,
We've hit the mistletoe barrier.
Yeah.
And then crossed over into Somerset, Gloucestershire, those particular counties where mistletoe is so prevalent. And whilst it was prevalent throughout Britain at one point, we very rarely see it up in the north and in the west.
Is that right?
Very rarely see it. You can cultivate it, you can grow it, but it struggles to grow, probably because of the moderate temperatures and also the brine in the atmosphere. But it's there. It is a tree that lives on a tree. We bring it indoors, like the holly, like the ivy, like these fir trees. So I love the fact that there are these stunningly simplistic symbols of trees as being, or rather as beings that help us to become centered, and we bring them into our homes.
Right.
And that fills me with a joy at this time of year. And
it has for centuries, hasn't it?
Totally, yes. Even though the Christmas tree, as we might know it, is a fairly new addition to the British household, of course, popularized by Queen Victoria and her husband Albert, and I love that image from the Illustrated London News, which was the first time that the British public were introduced to this concept of bringing this fir tree into the home. And you see the royal family standing around this very idyllic tree on a table with little gifts underneath it. And of course, that just sparked a huge craze. But I often think that came from Germany, because Albert was German.
Right.
And there is nothing to suggest that we were bringing trees into the household prior to that, but we were certainly bringing in holly,
other greens,
ivy, and mistletoe, and bringing the winter spirit in, perhaps, to show them hospitality. That's how I like to think of it. I'm not sure if that was the actual rationale, but showing hospitality to nature. Right. And I think that's a really important message at this time of year. Like, it's cold out there. We appreciate you. Why don't you come in there of our hearth?
We'll warm you by our fire.
Yes, and perhaps in turn, the bounty of nature might then bless us.
Yes.
Yes. And but are you one for full out celebration of like Yuletide?
Do you know me?
I'm
extra. I'm extra at this time.
I like extra. But do you think, though, that I do often hear, or people might throw the odd comment in my direction, that we shouldn't celebrate Christmas, right? Because we're pagans. And does Christmas have a place within midwinter, within Yuletide? Now, I think
absolutely.
It does, right?
Yeah.
Kind of all comes from a similar place.
Yeah.
And I'm more than happy to use the word Christmas to wish somebody a Merry Christmas. And if on Christmas morning, which invariably we do, my husband and I will usually get up early on Christmas morning before the sun has risen, and we'll go and sit outside the front of our house with a nice mug of hot chocolate or something. And from our house, the vista that we see are the mountains of Eryri. And there's one mountain in particular called Mynydd Mawr, or the Big Mountain. And we call it Mynydd Elephant Mountain, because it looks like a recumbent elephant from our perspective. And for 3 to 4 days prior to Christmas Day, the sun rises directly above the cairn at the top of the mountain, directly above it. And it's in the same position for 3 full days. And then on the 25th of December, it rises just to the left of it.
Coming back, yeah.
And it's coming back, right? And of course, that ties in so beautifully with solstice.
Yes.
Sun stands still. it's not moving for days, and then we can't, well, it is moving, but it's so imperceptible to the human eye that we only see that movement on Christmas morning.
Well, and I actually don't see them as different because, well, yes, because as you said, the sun stands still and we begin our solstice, our Yuletide celebrations, and we call that the solstice. But as the sun returns, that's what we've been asking for 3 days. Shouldn't there be a celebration on that day as well to say the sun has come back? And I think, now I haven't researched this, so I'm sure someone will fact check me, but in our world, but that there's this argument now that Jesus was never even born at this time, that they just moved that date to the 25th, which makes a lot of sense because the sun has now returned. So I have no issue with basically, I mean, add another party onto it. Why not? Add 4 days of a party, or depending on when, the 21st or the 22nd, whenever it may begin. But then you carry it through. And I mean, I think we were mentioning this at dinner too, that, a lot of us we are the first generation of pagans these days, right? And so we grew up with a Christmas tradition. I love tradition. I love my traditions. We get up, we on Christmas Eve, we have a very specific tradition. We would have Christmas with my one grandmother, and we would open gifts with her, and then we'd have our other side of the family on Christmas morning. We'd open other gifts then. And it just all, I think, marries together. So we honor the time of darkness, and we are asking the sun to come back on the solstice, and we know it's standing still and it's not moving, keep calling it, and then it moves.
25th of December.
Let's have a party.
Because I love all those traditions. They're not only do they hark back to my childhood or the excitement of it, but that excitement has also changed to this genuine excitement that the season itself is turning, right? And when I consider solstice, I also like to consider that whilst the sun is standing still for 3 days, how do I stand within that stillness and acknowledge the stillness that's happening in me, which is very difficult when you've got all the hoo-ha of midwinter happening around you.
Especially 4 days from the solstice. You're like, that's the pressure cooker moment.
Exactly. And I do love that excitement and the anticipation of it. And I've often thought that I hear so many people, especially in relation to Christmas Day, talk about it as an anticlimax. And I wonder whether the reason we feel that it's an anticlimax is that we've placed so much consideration and emphasis on what it's giving us. Whether that's from a physical material perspective in the way of a gift, the pressure of having to buy, the pressure of having to cook and host parties, that perhaps the anticlimax is exactly what should be happening, but that we should be using that anticlimax to sit within the stillness of that part of the year, within the stillness of the anticipation of birth, the anticipation of the coming spring. And maybe that's a difficult thing for us to do in the 21st century when there is so much pressure on people.
Right. I think, we've put that stress on us. Are we getting the dinner right? Are we getting the right gift? Have we, decked the halls enough? And then it's just over. But, and I know exactly what you're talking about, that anticlimax, especially as I got older. I think some of that magic waned for me until I came back to this nature path and the spirituality of Druidry, and found that, no, this is the drawing in part. This is the time when you've received the gift. So go read the book, sit down with it, or sit with yourself and say, or you sit with yourself and ask, why do I feel anticlimactic? What does that mean for me? But I do think that we do put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and this is a time of year that we get to be gentle with ourselves.
Exactly.
Just reconnect and like the old bear, go into the cave and come out in a couple of weeks and be like, I'm back again. Hi.
I love that Icelandic tradition. It's called Jólabókaflót. That's probably not how you pronounce it. I've probably butchered that entirely.
Someone will tell you, don't worry.
Will tell me. I think it translates as the Yuletide book flood. And I can't recall, Google will probably know, whether it's on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, but a book is given as a gift. and then people spend either the rest of the day or the rest of the evening just reading.
Oh, how beautiful.
Silence, in stillness. And I love that feeling that comes from this time of year. Even though we're here in Glastonbury amidst all of the hoo-ha and the shenanigans.
Yeah.
Free.
It's not quiet here. There's no stillness here.
And yet we're able to create a piece of stillness here in front of the fire.
Yeah.
Here in amongst Druid shenanigans.
Amongst the traipsing about.
Yeah.
and the ridiculous amounts of shopping we get in.
Yeah. So as a Druid, what does this season mean to you? What does it look like in your practice?
Yeah, so I have a little group back in Reno, so hi to everyone there. And we like to gather, and we've started this tradition in the last couple of years where we will have a little gift exchange, but the gifts are generally to be made. Something that we can make, that we can make with our spirit and ourselves. And then we'll do a little, ritual around the fire. I have a little fire in my backyard, and we'll either do it there, or sometimes we'll just do it in my living room. And then part of my love language is cooking for others. So I'll cook a feast, and we'll sit down and we'll have that feast. And in fact, I have a little gift for everyone out there. I have a little recipe for some Glühwein. Yes, some German Glühwein. Ooh, it's a delight. So I'll give it to you, and maybe we can post it on the...
What's in it?
Oh, brandy. Wine, brandy, citruses.
Red wine, brandy, spices.
Citruses, sugar, all the good things that you sit and just let them, simmer together. And the smell coming off
fills the house.
It fills the house, and it really kind of it's a sensory overload. And I try to cultivate that. And we give this little gift exchange so that we can say we appreciate each other, and I recognize the light within you, and you recognize the light within me. And the gifts aren't meant to be really materialistic, although that's my problem. But it's to say I appreciate you, and I appreciate what you've done throughout the year. So that's how I translate my Druidry into this time of the year, is to take a moment, sit in some stillness with each other, break bread together.
Yeah.
Show appreciation. And then...
Because then it's not transactional.
No, yeah.
It's meaningful.
It's meaningful.
It's acknowledging something.
It's an act of service from your heart on so many levels. And so everyone will contribute and come up with little things to give. And, people get really creative. And it just brings out a nice side of each of us that we like to see and maybe we don't see enough of.
That's really beautiful, actually. That just the fact, how you said it's about acknowledging the light in others, and being appreciative of that light, and how that light has illuminated our lives through the year. Right. That's a very different Yuletide message to the one that we're fed by the secular world.
Oh yeah,
it's a totally different message.
Yeah.
But I think a really important message that as pagans and as secular people is good to hear.
Well, because they always say to us, you want to be with friends and family around the holidays. And then when that pressure is put on us, what does that look like? And if you just step back for a second and say, it's not really about me. It's about appreciating what others and my chosen family members and my family members.
Yeah.
And because we don't always get along with our family, and gods know that my family is a bit of a trial, to say the least. But to just really kind of say, look, despite all of the shit we go through every, 364 other days, whatnot, you're here. You're in my life for a reason.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
I love you.
I love how, gosh, in the decades that I've been a practicing Druid pagan, how the feast and the celebration of midwinter of Alban Arthan itself has become so important to me to share that with my Druidic family. We gather up in Cyllidy and we celebrate the shortest day the longest night. The Mari Luid will come and cause absolute havoc and run amok through the ritual. And then we go and have a glorious feast.
Yes.
And then there's this pause, which feels beautifully natural from the 21st through to the 25th, that I think reflects that solstice, the sun stand still. But it takes a bit of effort, I think, to change how we feel towards Christmas Day.
Right.
Especially when we are new to paganism and not maybe beat ourselves up over it.
Yeah, if I could share anything with people who are just finding this path, because this time of year puts a lot of emotional pressure on people to have people and things to gather with, but don't do that to yourselves. Remember to reconnect with who you are inside and see that light. And maybe you have to just give a gift to yourself this year. Maybe you celebrate the solstice alone this year. That's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fine.
And then, but it builds on itself and it seems to snowball.
Yeah.
Because we all do find each other, I think, like little homing pigeons. We tend to circle around. Oh, what are you doing over there? Oh, okay, I see you. But then we create that chosen family.
Yeah.
And, and just like you said, when we sit and have a feast together, it's not just any feast. We've made these things and we've spent maybe days, maybe months making a Christmas cake, maybe, getting the turkey out or the goose out and dressing it and finding the best recipe because, turkey's not the best bird. You got to do something to juice that thing up.
Yeah. That's so true. That's so true. And it's also soporific, right?
Yeah.
I have no idea how Queen Elizabeth used to endure those 3 p.m. Christmas Day broadcasts every year. You know damn well the top button of her jeans is open after all that.
Yeah.
She's half asleep.
I'm trying, I'll get through it. Give me some coffee.
The feasting. I do love the feasting. But I've spent several years since 2007 going on my writing retreat up to northern Finland, so just outside of the Lappish city of Rovaniemi. Oh my word, it's like here in the British Isles when it comes to solstice, there's the build-up, the anticipation, there's the symbology, there's the magic, and I love all of that. But what is missing is the threat, the real threat that would have been inherent to our ancestors who didn't have Tesco and Waitrose down the road. They were utterly reliant and dependent on the cycles of the seasons to know when to put the ram to the ewe, to know when to sow, when to reap. But when I go to northern Finland, that threat is still there. It's still manageable. The sun doesn't rise, doesn't clear the horizon. If you go too far into that forest, there's a bloody good chance that you ain't coming back.
Yeah.
It's minus 29, minus 30 degrees Celsius. That threat is tangible. And I have a deep appreciation, particularly for the Norse, the Nordic festival of Yuletide, because they live in that. They live within that fear, within that threat. So that the Yuletide, the midwinter solstice, is such a relief because there is this true hope that comes with it. And we don't have a sense of that here. So within my Druidry, within our Druidry, we're having to metaphorically somehow translate what it meant to our ancestors in a way that transmutes us today. And I think that's a fairly difficult balancing game as well. What is it doing to us on the inside? What is happening to our own light as it's being reborn? Is it a reset? Are we able to go back to factory settings and rejig the plugs and have some form of factory resetting when it comes to midwinter? And I think that is something that is reflected within Druid ritual, is that not only are we celebrating the rebirth of the sun, that the threat of winter isn't necessarily over, but there is hope.
There's hope
on the horizon. And that I've often wondered, does midwinter therefore offer us in a way a piece of slate that we can wipe the year off, but it leaves a trace? You know how we used to write on blackboard in chalk? You'd rub it would still leave a trace.
Yeah, it got ghosty a bit.
Yeah, there's a ghost of what's happened there, but you can kind of write over it. And I often think of midwinter in that, from that perspective of it allows us an opportunity to reset.
Well, and seeing where I'm from in the high desert, we actually still do get the threat. Because because there are times, not every year. It's not as clockwork, I think, as up, in the far north. But if we have a storm coming on the horizon that is, they always say, oh, it's Snowmageddon 2025. Always, there's always some threat the news puts out. But people tend to panic and they rush to the stores and they stock up on stores. They've already got it all in their house, but heaven forbid they run out of it. So there's this slight panic and there's still this threat of nature, and she's coming, and watch out, So we do get it a bit still, where we have to think, okay, we may not be able to leave our houses for a couple of days because the snow is deep enough where a plow needs to come through the roads, or we don't have the right vehicle to get through it. And even if you do have the right vehicle, sometimes it doesn't matter. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And so what do you do for several days? Do you have meat for enough days? Because we do really only live, most of us, 3 days at a time. Yeah. Maybe we have enough food for a week if we're lucky.
Yeah.
But otherwise, we're having to go to the store quite frequently.
Or root down the back of that cupboard that we've all got in the kitchen. Yeah. We don't know what's in the back of it.
What's in the back? How old is that? Is that expired? All right.
But that's still the reality of the threat of nature, isn't it? It's still there. Whether
it's still there.
We've overcome it, we've suppressed it, we've pushed it down.
Yeah. Well, and the United States is a very, very large place, and I think our friend Jamie was saying too, or in Ohio, it's already snowing. They're already having these massive snowstorms, and so because the states are so big, we will see some part of the country will stay kind of temperate, and then the other part is under 10 feet of snow, and it can switch at a moment's notice. So we do have this all right, have you made sure that you have enough? Do we need to go take care of the neighbors next door and whatnot? And then that becomes beautiful too if there's people next door who need help, and then you've got a community build,
little community spirit. Yeah, that is lovely. There's where the Order's office is on the Isle of Anglesey, the community centre that it's based within. They have Christmas dinners that they put on for the loneliest people of our community, who have a space to go, to be warm, enjoy a lovely meal, enjoy some lovely music. Somebody might be up singing or playing the piano. And many of us take part in serving these people. And that feels so much like the spirit of the season. It's almost Dickensian, right? This is what we do for our community during the dark times, is we try and be there for them. Yeah. But I think and it does annoy me to a huge extent when I read that, or I hear people saying that the true spirit of the season has been lost. People have forgotten what Christmas means, what midwinter means. But I don't think we've forgotten.
No, I disagree.
We might have some lapse in memory, but I don't think we've entirely forgotten that it's there, that you just have to scratch the surface.
Yeah.
And not necessarily pare back on things. I do dislike the whole craze of the gift-giving culture.
Sure.
Giving for the sake of giving, that if I give you something that's worth £100, you're likely to think more of my friendship.
Sure.
Then you feel obligated that, oh God, Kristoffer spent £100, I need to spend £100.
Right.
And I do wish that would stop.
Yeah.
But however, commercialism.
Maybe, as I'm a Capricorn, so pessimism is my nature, but I'll throw an opposite bone and say optimistically that it does. Maybe I think it still comes from a really good place in us that we want to give. I think there's a joy in that giving, but we have lost our way a bit, and it just gets a little too much. I was talking with my boyfriend, and if he does ever watch this, sorry, Daniel, but he's like, I must give 3 gifts to everybody. Why 3? No,
Oh, was there a reason for that?
Oh, I think he loves giving to people, and that's part of his love language is to give a gift.
Yeah.
And so he likes to make sure that they feel appreciated. He got very upset once when another teacher of his was in a Secret Santa, and the Secret Santa didn't get that teacher anything. He got very upset, and we had to have like a moment, and I had to calm him down, like, it's okay, we can go buy her something.
Yeah.
Or I said, it wasn't your fault. That's not your responsibility. But it's just I think it's put this like inordinate pressure on us to overgive.
Yes.
Which I think comes from a good place.
Yes.
But it's just, I think I'll blame the Victorians.
Blame the Victorians.
Everything's.
I have this running arguments with my mother. Every single Yuletide season, she will say, "What do you want for Christmas?" And I always say the same thing. I'd like a candle. She's like, "I can't just get you a candle. I need to get you more than a candle." And I keep trying to explain to her, "Mother, that candle will mean significantly more to me. It's a light that I can light on Solstice Day and Christmas Day. It's very symbolic, and it means something to me. If you want to get me something, please just get me a candle."
Yeah.
You know? And she's,
and
it's taken her years. I'm like, "Mother, the candle, this is what the candle means." And now she's like, "Oh, okay. She now understands, or definitely has an appreciation that is really something that I want. But you know what I love more than anything? A card.
A really lovely card, yeah.
Or even, not even so much, the card could be any old card, really, but it's what somebody might write in it.
I see what you're saying.
I like a card that has a message.
From their heart.
Yeah, from their heart. Yeah. I find that fills my heart.
Well, and see, I'm like you too. I tell my family, says, "Well, what do you want? What do you want?" I'm like, "God, give me a rock. Just I don't really need anything.
No,
I've got what I need."
God, no, it's
true. After each trip to Glastonbury, I have less and less surfaces, less and less wall space. There's not enough. So that's just it. It's like, it's not about the thing, it's about the act that someone has gone to think about you. And if they really are listening, it's just, just simple, just something nice. And so, that's why when we do our little traditions, and I like to make incense. So I like to have a lovely incense blend that we'll make with little resins of frankincense and myrrh and cinnamon and cloves and orange peel that I've dried out. And then when I give that to someone and they get to burn that on their altar, they think of me, and I think of them when they give me like a bar of soap.
It's more than just something that you opened one morning and stuck in your bathroom and then forgot about it.
So this candle that she gives you, you light it during ceremony. My mother gave this to me.
Yeah.
And you think about it, and you think about them.
It's from my mum.
Yes.
So she is slowly coming around to it.
Oh, good.
Coming around to the peculiarities of her druid.
Thank you, Mum.
It's taking her a long time, which I can understand.
Yeah.
But I also found that, so yesterday we were all in a ceremony here, a lovely winter ritual with the Order of Bards, Hobbits and Druids, and standing in that enormous circle.
Oh, what, 200 of us?
It was huge.
It was huge.
And it was cold.
Very.
And damp.
Windy.
But
rainy.
I found that in itself is a gift, right?
Yeah.
Especially, I love that part in that ceremony. We all go forward. We've got those funny little battery-operated
candles that I thought, really? Okay.
And that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Do you think the same thing?
Oh, I did. I was like, really?
Oh, what's this going to do? This isn't going to do much. Oh, let's just hold it anyway.
Yeah.
Go into somebody else's house and move the furniture.
Absolutely not.
And then, of course, we realized, we put these down on this mirrored...
Yeah, on this slab thing. Do you know what I saw when that was happening? Because I was one of the first to take mine up and drop it and then walk away. And as everyone was coming, 200 of us filing into the center began to glow.
Yeah.
And every person that set theirs down was glowing.
Yes.
And it was so symbolic of everyone brought their own light to contribute to a greater light.
So I was one of the first as well to drop my candle off. And then by the time I got back to the edge of the circle and turned around to face the center, I obviously couldn't see anything because there's 100 people there putting down their candles. But as they started to disperse, I was like, what is that? There's a glow through the people.
Yes.
And I couldn't see the candles at that point because there's still all these bodies. And then as everybody moved away, I thought, now there's the meaning of the season. Yeah. There's the symbol of the season. And
Absolutely.
Although I was cold and uncomfortable at that point, because of course I'd left my sensible footwear in Glastonbury. So I was standing out there in dress shoes, not made for wet grass. But there was this light and I suddenly felt warm.
Yes.
And I think that is how I understand this season, is that sense of warmth and community and love and hope, which of course we still see within the Christmas message. It's still there.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the same message.
And it seems, I think, contrived. People like gloss over it to a great degree, but don't.
No, exactly.
Pull it back.
Exactly.
And if it's, at home, if you're going to do a small ritual, it can be as simple as just lighting a candle and letting the candle light be lit by each person in the circle, and then maybe you hold them together. It was, it just shows that we really do want to just share spirit with each other.
We do, yeah. And I like those simple things as well, because I think sometimes people, especially when they're new to contemporary paganism, Druidry, they've read a few books.
Right.
It's very easy to fall into the trap to think that you need to create these elaborate rituals in your own space and get these colored candles and this ingredient. When actually, so often, particularly this time of year, you just need a candle or a fireplace.
Right.
It is sharing the light of the season.
One of the things that we've been doing in our ritual, which we've been doing it at Nos Kalangea, but also with more of a central fire, but what we do in the Yule ritual that we do is we get a white taper candle. That's it, just a white taper candle. And I will start with, we'll have a central fire, and one of us will light their candle from the fire, and then we'll share it. And each person has to share it with the next person. And as you watch the circle light up, and it lights their faces, right? We're all standing in our ritual wear, but our faces light up, and it's like we are brought to the circle during that.
Yes.
And then we'll take those candles home and put them in our altar, and we each get a bit of the ceremony to take home. And it's just that simple. It doesn't need to be anything more than that.
No, it doesn't.
No.
So I love the big rituals, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I love them. I love the 150, 200 people that come to our midwinter ritual, and they delight in the glee of Marie-Louise running around and the singing and the chanting. But the one that I love the most is very quiet. It's in the darkness of my living room. It might only be my husband. Sometimes it's a couple of friends. Sometimes it's 3 or 4 friends. But it's the people who are closest to us. They'll come around. We'll sit in front of the fire. And last year's mistletoe, so this year's mistletoe will hang above the hearth. It'll hang there for the whole season until the 13th of January, which is Hen Galan, or Old New Year in Welsh. And then it will be moved to the far corner of our living room, where it stays for the rest of the year and dries slowly. So by the time next midwinter comes along, we then burn the old mistletoe. But before that, we place a little... Have you seen those little simmer cauldrons? I think they're used in some form of Japanese cooking. It's a cast iron, it looks like a cauldron, but it sits on top of a little dish that you can put some of the, like the fire gel stuff for a big candle to warm it. And it might be for ramen or something, I'm not sure, but I think it's used in some kind of culinary stuff. But I use that as a simmer pot. So we'll place that on a little table and fill it with water, get some of the mistletoe and the old berries and place that in it, and simmer it with star anise and a bit of cinnamon, and you get this beautiful smell, juniper berries. So it acts like a simmer pot. It's honoring the mistletoe, and then we'll write our hopes, our wishes for the coming year on slivers of paper, tie them into the mistletoe bough, and then we do the same. We light a little candle, we pass it round. And I read it once, centuries ago, when books were fairly new within the pagan world, where you could get something from Borders or Barnes and Noble or W. H. Smith. And I have no idea, I forget who the author was, but there was this tiny little verse in it that said, "On shortest day and longest night, I offer you the gift of light."
I've heard this.
And I have no idea who the author was or what the book was by now. And we use that little phrase, and the same, we pass that candle around, and we're sitting there in the dark.
Yeah.
So you see the illumination, and this smell is a really sensory experience.
Yeah.
And then that mistletoe bough goes into the fire, and we thank it, and up it goes in a roaring flame. And I love that little ceremony on midwinter night.
Yeah.
I adore that ceremony because it feels like it is the heart of the season.
Well, and like you said, I do like the big rituals. I think seeing like 200 plus druids out this weekend, or going to the top of the tour, or going to Bryn Cathy D, and seeing just so many people, it's it's heartwarming and evocative. But where I find the real magic and where it really touches me is when it's just a simple, quiet ceremony with just a few of us.
Yeah.
And you get to share that space with the people that you really, really want to connect with, and that you do connect with. And that's where I find, the magic for me. Because I think as a ritualist, I think we were talking about this, there's a lot of pressure on you to bring the magic to a circle all the time. And when it doesn't happen, you get a little disappointed, to be honest. And the larger the group, the harder it is. Simply that,
Yeah.
But then, take that time for yourself. And if it is just a ritual of one, or a ritual of two, or, 3 or 4, it's so poignant.
It is.
And it speaks right to you. And like you said, the sensory, this time of year especially, more than I think the other times of year, it's so easy to create with the cinnamon sticks and the apple smells and the ciders and the things boiling on the stove. It doesn't take much to remind you of the things when you were a child that brought that joy and that excitement when the sun came back that morning, and maybe Santa Claus or Father Christmas has come and left the gifts and the stockings and the trees and things, and you're like, ooh, so exciting. That's where I find it again.
Yeah. I'll sit with a nice mug of Christmas tea.
Christmas tea.
This is good Christmas tea.
And it is. And we sit here, as we say this, we're also smelling the stars and the cinnamon and the clove. And this place you rent each year has this stunning little fireplace, and it just worked out so well because it's been cold and wet, and this is drying us out because we've been so damp, moist.
So if you had a lovely message for people at this time of year, what would it be?
What
would your midwinter wish or message be?
Remember who you are inside, and remember that you carry a light, and the world is better with you in it. Remember to let your light shine and reignite that light at this time of the year, and then share it with others.
Yes,
I think.
Yes, I would say more or less the same thing. I might add, but also find the kindling that enflames your own light.
Yes.
What are the things that bring you joy and delight? And think of those as kindling to add to the conflagration of your own flames. And then shine. And as I often say in so many of my presentations, and if somebody tells you that you're shining too much, tell them to put on some shades.
Even Cynthia Revo said this recently, right? You're not the one that's extra. You are you, and let it shine through. Yes.
Oh, fabulous. Well, Merry Midwinter.
And
Merry
to you.
Christmas.
Happy Yuletide to you.
Solstice.
Yes.
Happy New Year. All of those things.
All the Merry Christmases and, wishes for the new year to all of you.
Yes. So, there we go. There's our little midwinter conflab here on the sacred Isle of Avalon, deep in Somerset. So blessings to you, Benedicthion cynnes I chi gyd dros y tymor. A very, very blessed midwinter solstice and Christmas to you all. And we shall see you next time. And if you would like to know more, please visit our website at angleseydruidorder.co.uk. Merry Midwinter, everybody.
Merry Christmas, everyone.